We absolutely did it. We built a tiny home for under $20,000. Our two kiddos, Citrine and Kingston, did help out quite a bit. It was a life-changing experience, and we want to share exactly how we did it with you. We're going to break down the budget, we're going to show you our timeline, and hopefully be a resource for you so one day you can figure out how to go tiny. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, Far Out Tiny Homes. You have Jillian and Josh here, and we wanted to give you guys an idea of our background and let you know of our very first tiny home journey.
Yeah, so I think the best place to start out is kind of to discuss why we chose to build a tiny house in the first place.
Yeah, it all started for us in Kansas City. We were just stuck in an extremely high rent cycle. We felt like we were falling behind with all of our bills, and we wanted to do something different. Of course, the American dream of owning a house is something that we were always considering as a couple, but unfortunately, due to high student loans, we just really couldn't find approval to get a mortgage. So we started looking at just alternative homes and really what that idea meant. And we were considering a tiny home, a container home, and even an earthship. But the big thing that we kept running into was the price. We couldn't afford something that had already been constructed. And honestly, we were very interested in doing this ourselves and taking on this huge goal of building our own house. So we just started sitting down every night after work and kind of putting together these design layouts that we thought our family of 6, because we had 2 dogs, 2 kids, and then the 2 of us, we were trying to create a home that would, suffice and be enough space where we could live a normal life and have the amenities that were important to our family.
And I think getting out of the cycle of having stuff, we wanted to take that stuff away and have more life experience. It's what we continuously talked about.
Finally, we designed a space that was a 20-foot tiny home, and it had all of the basic amenities. It was rather bare bones, but what was most important was that we were at a price that we felt comfortable obtaining, that was doable with where we were at in our life. And then from there, we just kind of reverse engineered, and we're like, where can we cut on costs? Where can we save money? What resources available to us to lower our initial upfront investment?
One of the things that pops up real early in the discussion of a tiny home is budget. What you have and how long it's going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Our first budget was what we deemed the shoestring budget, because most folks that we talked to kind of laughed us off and saying you'll never be able to build a house for that. So our very first budget was $15,000 to actually obtain the trailer, completely finish the exterior and interior. Now again, it was a very bare bones house, but it had everything in it that a family of 4 plus 2 dogs would need in order to have a successful tiny home journey.
So now that you kind of have an idea for budget, we're going to talk about what's next after that.
So we had 3 big items that we had to really figure out before we could really move forward with this project. The first one was, where's this money going to come from? The second one was, where are we going to build this tiny home? And the third one was, what is our legit time frame? How long are we really going to give ourselves to get this done? So we had a budget of $15,000. Now it was up to us to figure out how we were going to come up with this money. So back before Far Out Tiny Homes, I was a corporate girl and I had a 401k. The 401k was just at about $5,000, and I know some of you are probably cringing when you say, oh my gosh, you cashed that out. But honestly, it was the best idea that I could have made and that we could have made together for our family. We also had a very small savings account, and mind you, this is about 4 years of savings together of $3,000. So we're kind of like little bit by little bit finding this money and putting this budget together. So far we have $8,000. Well, seeing that we're gonna go into this tiny house lifestyle, we started looking around at all of our furniture. We lived in about a 3,000 square foot house with a full basement and then a full first level. And within the 5 rooms of that house, every room had some sort of piece of furniture in it. So we just started going through everything, and kind of in the end we guesstimated that we'd make around another $2,000. So by the time we really were ready to commit and move forward, we should have $10,000 in the bank. So the remaining two items to figure out are the where of how, where we're going to build this, and then the timeline. So Josh got on the phone with his parents that actually live in Middle Missouri, and they have 20 beautiful acres backed by national forests, and said, "Hey mom, hey dad, what do you think about this tiny house idea?"
Yeah, my parents were happy to welcome us to the property and allow us to build. We told them it was going to be a 3-month timeline because the kids' school was going to be beginning in August, so that was kind of it. They said, yeah, no more than 3 months. That's a perfect amount of time. I don't think we can stand you for any longer.
Yeah. So they were generous enough to say, "Come on out, and you all can live in our basement. Bring whatever it is that you need, and you can live here while you build your tiny house." So we had figured out the 3 major items that were on our checklist, and the next 2 big items to really tackle, which was our huge leap of faith, was putting in our 30-day notice at our house, and then putting in my 30 days and having Josh speak with his clients and putting in his 30 days. Okay. So the next task was to call the landlord, kind of let him know what we were thinking and our timeline. He understood. He was sad to see us go, but he knew that we were on to bigger and better things. So about a week later, after speaking with our landlord, he gave us a call and said, "Hey, guess what? I have good news. I've rented out the house. We need you guys out by the 1st of next month." At that point, it was the beginning of May, so we had to be out of the house by the end of May. So that kind of lit a fire underneath us and said, well, it looks like the house rented. We better get out of here. So we put in our notice immediately. I put my notice in at my work, and Josh started talking with his clients, letting them know that we were making a big life change, and to let his clients know that he would be moving. So we had 3 weeks left in Kansas City, and we had a ton of work to do in order to really prep for this huge life transition. We had to go through all of our items that we owned and decide what we were going to sell and what we were going to keep. So with the last 3 weeks of our time there, we went through all of our stuff, and we planned to have a garage sale within those next 2 weekends to really pare down everything. In the meantime, we had those new tenants come in and view the house and talk with us, and they actually ended up buying all of our furniture in the downstairs basement area and some of our big kitchen appliances. We walked away with about $500 from them, and it was less work to have to move all of that stuff out for this garage sale, and we had cash in our pocket, so we were super stoked. With the next couple weekends, we put everything out, and we made an additional $1,500. So we did meet our goal of $2,000, so we could, be on the road with that $10,000 in our pocket. Okay. So next I want to discuss budget and how we really did this, and we're going to start with the trailer. What we did in order to meet this $20,000 price tag.
Yeah, in a timeline. So those were the 2 factors when we were deciding on a trailer. We had contacted trailer manufacturers, tiny home builders. We got a price around $4,500 to $5,000 for the 20-foot trailer, 8.5 feet wide. We thought that was a little high, and their lead time was 4 to 6 weeks. So that was a month of our build time, and we had 3. Didn't think for being our first tiny home build we were going to be able to build the unit in 2 months. We needed the full time. So we started looking on Craigslist, in the auto sales, the catalog. Started looking at trailer dealerships that were already pre-made. And we actually found a trailer company in Columbia, Missouri that had a old equipment trailer with 2 hybrid 8,000-pound axles, R17 tires. The farmer had driven it around on his property. So we went in that day. He said $2,400. I said, I'll give you $22. There's a few things that need to be done with the lights. He said deal. He threw in some scissor jacks, and we were off to building the frame.
We had to do some cutting on the trailer. We did have to take those the ramps off the back, but other than that, the modifications were slim. So once we had that trailer and we were ready to go, it was time to get our framing, sheathing, and our house wrapped, and we were trying to complete this in 2 weeks. So budget-wise, where were we with the framing, sheathing, and wrap?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. We ended up framing a lot of our cavity of the trailer because of the depth. And in the photo, you can see there's a 2x6 frame subfloor that did allow us to get R30 in the bottom of the trailer, which was great in the Las Vegas winter, and heat, most certainly. Um, so the 20-foot tiny house ended up being around $800 and framing material. The plywood for the unit was about 30 sheets. You're looking around $500, and then the actual wrap with the Tyvek tape and the cap nails, plastic cap nails, was around $200. So all in all, we're sitting at about $3,700 right now, and that's to get our unit framed, sheathed, and wrapped.
So the next phase of our build was working on the exterior siding. And because we were going to be driving this tiny home 1,500 miles across the country, that really slimmed down our exterior siding choices. I didn't want the unit, neither did Josh. We didn't want the unit to be all metal, like just a metal box. We wanted it to have some really nice, beautiful features, but we didn't have a lot of time to do all the artistic work that we really wanted to. So we opted for steel and cedar.
So for the metal, we went with a 40+ year warranty product from Menards. It was wonderful. That was around $1,800. And then for our wood accent, we did a cedar, which is much, its longevity, especially in the desert, is much more, and that came around $1,400. So we're sitting at $3,200 there in just the exterior, and then total cost at that point, we're sitting at about almost $7,000. So.
And we were both kind of squirming at this point, so we wanted to see what other options there were in order for us to really afford this house, because we didn't anticipate spending $3,200 on the exterior at all.
After this shock of the cost of just getting the unit finished from the outside, we still had appliances to buy, electrical, plumbing supplies, all these things. We were speaking with one of the associates at Menards, and they said, well, actually, it's funny because any purchase over, it was like $1,500 at the time, qualifies for a 4-year 0 interest loan that you can, start to pay on monthly, and
after 60 days is what it was.
Yeah, so 60 days and 0 interest for 4 years. So we ended up purchasing the metal and the cedar through that account. And it greatly changed our outlook on the project because it felt more tangible at this point.
Absolutely. That $3,200, we were like, charge it, and we did. So it helped us out tremendously. So at this point, we ordered our exterior. So the steel was about 3 weeks out, which also made us kind of squirm a little bit. Josh was like, we have so much interior left to do. We will find enough stuff to take care of before our our steel comes in. So basically, we just started with the electrical next. What were the costs? Where did we come in at?
When you add up all the wire, the switches, the lights, the bathroom fan, the ceiling fan, special wire for our appliances like the hot water heaters, $240. We came in around $1,000 for the electrical. So we had looked at a mini split ductless system, and we just couldn't fit it in the budget at the time. So Jelaine and I decided that we were going to just use a window unit or a portable AC unit for the time being and face the desert heat and see how things happen.
We also purchased a radiant floor heater for like $30 from Target. I think it was in November here we finally needed to heat the space. So it was definitely more cost efficient for us to go that route than it was to invest in $3,000 heating and cooling system at the time. So at this point, the electrical had taken us about a week, and we were still 2 weeks out when we were going to receive our steel and our cedar. So we moved on to plumbing. Now, plumbing was one of those things where we didn't have time or even the mental capacity to learn another skill. So we did hire out a little bit of work to push us in the right direction.
He came out, helped us out for 2 or 3 days on the weekend after his 9 to 5 shifts, and we got that done in about a week.
All the plumbing, and we did run copper pipes because I'm just not a big plastic lover with my water, and so Josh was so sweet. He was like, okay, we'll run copper, even though it was more expensive. It was a little bit out of budget, but we did it because it's what we wanted, and this was our house. So all in all, how much do you think we spent on plumbing and labor to get it done?
Yeah, so we're talking the hot water heater. We went with a 28-gallon low boy. It was around $400, and then all of our drain lines, and we actually installed a washer and dryer hookup, and that never happened. We were around $1,800 for material and Justin's help.
So the plumbing took an additional week, so we still had about one more week until our exterior siding would be in. So this is when we decided to do the installation, and I was super excited for this because it really helped me see that this home was coming along.
So for the floor and ceiling, we chose to frame out everything in 2x6. The desert heat is extreme, so R30 went in both of those cavities. And then batt R13 was put in the walls. Total installation cost for the whole unit was around $800. So once we're past the point of rough-in plumbing, electrical, and now insulation installed, we're sitting at about $7,300.
Which we were really excited about. We did budget correctly, so we were happy to see that our numbers were closely on. Now you have to also keep in mind that we had that $3,200 account that we opened up with Menards. So really, in reality, we're sitting at about $10,500. So with our insulation up, we were ready to move on to windows and doors, and we kind of made it a goal to get those windows and doors done before the exterior siding came in. So we just had a few days to do it. So we headed down to Lowe's and we bought what they had in stock. What exactly did we spend? Do you remember?
And we were in the process of framing, and we just decided, okay, we're going to go into the store and we're just going to buy any window, and we're going to frame out the unit to fit whatever they have in stock. So for our 2x2 windows, we spent about $150 a piece. There's 4 of them, so like right there is $600. And then we bought, I believe, like a 2x3 window, and then 3 3x3 windows.
Yeah.
And after we had purchased all of them, it was around $1,000, I think, and we had worked in a little bit of discount too for the order and continued business.
So because of the way we built this tiny home, our front door ended up being like a very funky size, and it wasn't standard. So we actually had to purchase a door and then modify it. So all in all, with the windows and the door, we're looking at right about $1,000. After we got all of our windows installed, then our exterior siding came in. We were so excited. We went same day, we picked it up, and we got started.
Learning curve for the metal itself and the cutting and the bending. Overall, the metal itself took about a week and a half to install. At this point, we're sitting like at about, a month and a half of time in the build. And now we're moving on to the inside.
The next part of the build was moving to the inside, like Josh was saying, and working on putting up our interior finishes. We did choose beadboard for its price and its aesthetic. It looks nice. Once it's all painted up, it's cute. And we did save some money and time because the sheets are huge 4x8. They're kind of a pain to, cut and get into place. But once you do, you kind of cruise. How much did we spend on all of that beadboard?
Probably spent around $500 on the board.
So after our interior wall finish was up, we were ready to move on to the flooring, which this is where we tried to save money, and we want to add this into our process just because we ended up losing money on our flooring budget, and Josh is going to tell you kind of how this all worked out.
So yeah, we had gone to Habitat for Humanity. We're there on the weekend with the kids looking at sinks and faucets and trying to save more money. And we saw this stack of flooring that was a gray color that we were looking to do. And it was on sale. It was like 500 square feet of flooring for $150.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, sweet. This is a great score. We'll be able to use it all over the house. We still have to put down the pad underneath, and it's going to work out great. So we take it home, and we had inspected it when we were there, mind you. For some reason, between the transport from Habitat for Humanity and to our house, all the pieces seem to have morphed into something that would never, like a puzzle that you get in a box that no pieces go together. So we're trying to use this flooring that, after further inspection probably came up because of a little bit of water damage. That cardboard had absorbed the water moisture and had swollen all the joints, and none of them fit together, or if they did fit together, they were already peaking, and it was just a mess. So
I just remember being in the loft, and Josh had given me a rubber mallet, and he's like, okay, this is how you do it, and he got the first piece in. I'm like, okay, no problem, I'll be able to do this. Okay, so I go up there, I bring up some pieces, and I just remember trying so hard to get it in, thinking like my technique was so off. What is wrong with me? Called Josh up in tears, super freaking frustrated, just over it, and then he tried and couldn't either. So further inspection went out and looked at it, and it was all chipped and garbage. I don't know what the hell happened, but I mean, we thought that this material would be okay, but once we kind of started to play with it,
it was
not.
far. We took a gamble, and it was far over the square footage that we needed, and it ended up just costing us more money and time to pick it up. Because I took the trailer all the way in to pick it up, so that was like a half day in build time that we were just picking up this material that didn't even work out for us. So.
Okay. So now we have this $150 deficit within our flooring budget, and so now we really had to shop for flooring that was very budget friendly, and I wasn't really excited about it because I wasn't finding any of the colors that I wanted or any of the grain feel that I wanted. So Josh really took over this part and said, just let me find this perfect flooring. And he did just that.
Yeah, so we ended up finding a flooring that was around $2 a square foot. It was a pretty decent product. It didn't come with the pad underneath, so that was an added cost that we had.
So with this new flooring purchase, with the underlayment, and then adding that $150 in total, we spent about $600 on our flooring. So now with our walls up and the flooring in, we had our windows up, this house was really starting to come together. We were now ready to move into the bathroom.
Yeah, so the bathroom started off as a difficult challenge because Jillian wanted a tub, and we had searched for tubs for almost a week. And trying to find something that was going to work. It needed to be 2 feet wide, and we had 5 feet of depth to work with. So Jillian found this RV tub that was 2 foot by 48 inches.
Off Amazon, $300. It was expensive, but totally worth it.
Yeah, and it's still in the house. It had a pre-drain foam bottom, so it was already had the slope that you needed. We installed drywall and vinyl sheeting around that with beadboard by the toilet and around some of the ceiling and the fan. The bathroom mirror, the vanity, was something that Jillian really wanted, was a nice vanity mirror and medicine cabinet, so we kind of spent a little bit of money on that. The bathroom vanity and the toilet were additional purchases that we made, and a little bit of extra lumber for making shelves. And in the end, everything included in the bathroom was about $1,000.
Yeah, once we were all said and done. So once the bathroom was finished, we were ready to move on to my favorite part, which I consider the heart of the house, the heart of the Blue is the kitchen. So we had great plans for this space, but due to budget constraints, we kind of had to pull back. As Josh said earlier, we did have plans of having a washer and dryer in the space. We plumbed the house for a washer and dryer, but we just couldn't make it happen with the little budget that we had. We splurged on a couple of items like appliances in the kitchen.
She told me we were buying this fridge.
I did. I found this fridge.
And it was a great fridge. We bought a $50 IKEA cooktop that we put on a hook on the wall. That made, a lot more countertop space. We pulled it down when we needed it. We bought a convection oven that was our baking. So those are kind of the appliance necessities that we were looking at. The other kind of storage things, we didn't really have the budget and time for countertops at that time. So we found some bamboo countertop wire rack shelving that we put together next to the sink. The sink itself was it's like a
utility sink with the cabinet underneath. It was like this one package, and it came with the faucet as well. So it was like a place it, plumb it, and you're done.
Right. So again, since we didn't have the budget for cabinetry, we We went with open air shelving on top of the bamboo racks.
Mm-hmm. And all in all, once we were finished with our kitchen, we were sitting at about $1,580. So with the bathroom complete and the kitchen complete, the last big task was to work on the living room and then the loft space. So right now our budget is sitting around $11,000. And I know you're saying, whoa, I thought you guys only moved with 10 grand. Okay, well you're right. So we had to get a little crafty with where we were going to find the rest of this money. We went ahead and opened an LAR account at Lowe's, and this is basically a monthly pay account where you run up your tab for 30 days and then you need to pay it off within the next 30 days. This seemed like a feasible way for us to continue the build without having to stop, move to Las Vegas, and then, continue the build there. At this point, we're ready to move into the living room to get it done. We are so close to having this build be completely finished. We just had some built-ins that were left to do and a little bit of trim work.
Yeah, so we started out with the couch built in because it seemed like the most feasible thing to do, building furniture for the first time. So it turned out great. We had a 4-compartment storage system set up with a cushion made by Jillian here, and it turned out great. From there, we were moving on to our stairs. So the bookcase ladder was made out of redwood and then maple plywood as the storage compartments. We even added the shelves pull out. That was great. Built-in couch, the stairs, and the trim. We're sitting around $1,930.
We were a little surprised on how much we did spend to finish everything up, but the best part about it, the downstairs area was totally complete, and now it was time to move up into the lofted space.
So since we decided to go with a ladder instead of the staircase, we decided that we needed some form of catwalk so the kids could access our side of the loft. We ended up building, to tie in with the redwood, we did some exposed redwood beams and a redwood railing around the edge. That ended up being around $350. And then with the extra flooring that we had still left over from doing the downstairs and the lofts, we were able to finish everything out for that. One big thing to keep in mind when you're building a tiny home is the amount of hardware that you're going to need. Budget around $1,000. It may be more depending upon how you frame everything up, what your centers are. You're looking at carriage bolts, you're looking at adhesives, silicones, paints, screws, nails, fasteners, jig jags,
the hurricane,
hurricane ties, electric covers for the the cover plates over the stud. So $1,000 is kind of what we spent on all of that miscellaneous hardware, and is probably the most important. It's what's securing everything in place and keeping it safe.
Right.
So don't skimp on the safety equipment.
So at this point, all of the purchases have been made. The house is pretty bare bones, but it is finished, and it is ready for us to take it 1,500 miles across the country to Nevada.
So we have a finished tiny home, and we're kind of looking at budget again, and we did really well. We total cost for the materials and everything and labor from Justin was $15,260 plus or minus. We're pretty
close.
Pretty close. And with the added cost of the metal and the cedar from Menards of $3,200, our total build cost was $18,460.
Woo woo! Yeah. So we had a budget of $15,000. We were $3,200-ish off. But for our first build and having this huge learning curve, I would say we freaking nailed it.
And we got pretty creative on the interior in terms of finish. Jillian, she just wanted to make it a space, and we embellished it and made it really nice, and it's very diverse and unique. And I think it's something it's paid off in time by spending so much time to finish that. We've got a lot of great responses from the people who have stayed there and said, this is an eclectic space, and we really enjoyed our time. So we're doing something right.
Yep. So with all that said, are you ready to take a tour of the Blue Baloo? Click the next video and shibbity-bibbity-boppity-boo. What should I say?
Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine
Okay,
go
stop.
down.
Okay, so are you ready to take a tour of the Blue Baloo? Click the next video and we'll let you inside. What did I say?
I don't know. This is the last thing we gotta do. But yeah.
Okay.
So if you're picking up what we're putting down. I'm
No,
just kidding.
okay. So if you're ready to take a tour of the Blue Baloo, we have the next video in queue. Click it now.